But I mean, kind of another thing on that kind of leadership note that you were talking about. Because I was just saying everything starts with Fox. And in a way, the culture of the locker room, because obviously I think the culture probably starts more with Mike Brown. But, from the player standpoint, it starts with Fox. And I guess they got their motto, like all in. Fox said it on media day. Plenty of other guys have used the same words. The guys are bought in. You'll hear Sabonis talk about the good vibes, and it's just it feels like it starts with Fox, and there's a mutual understanding between players and coach right now. Obviously, you could see it in the fact that these last 3 games with Cleveland this past Wednesday, the Lakers this past Friday, and the Warriors just the other day. Those were 3 of the last teams that Mike Brown had coached. And I think it probably was, I don't know 100% know if it was said for the Laker game or the Cleveland game, but it was definitely a main point of emphasis from the players after the Warriors game that they wanted to win this game for Mike. And that's like, it sounds so stupid. It really sounds kind of sappy as it's coming out of my mouth there, but it's like, man, you can't, like, it's early, anything can happen, but it's like, that sounds like that's a great start to something even greater. So, and it goes both ways, like I said, because Mike Brown has tremendous trust in his players, and he's allowed to have tremendous trust in his players, again, because his players have tremendous trust in him. And you could see it late against the Warriors before the Kings ended up going on their run. I think I don't remember who the shooter was, but the Warriors got a 3 in transition, and Mike Brown called a timeout and called Fox out on it. He either wanted Fox to stop the guy with the ball or continue running and close out the guy in the corner, or both, one of which, or if not one, the other, whatever the deal was. He wanted to tell him that. And Mark Jones and Katie Christensen on the broadcast described it. It's like, he's talking demonstratively, but it was to each other, but it was a one-way street. It was just Mike Brown talking demonstratively to Fox, and Fox is taking it in, listening. And what did he do? He made the adjustments. They ended up going on that 12-2 run to win the game. And Fox just wants to learn. And Mike Brown was asked, I think by Deuce Mason on Saturday, what he's noticed about Fox that maybe surprised him on or off the court. And Mike Brown essentially compared him to Tim Duncan, and that back in Mike Brown's San Antonio days, he remembered Greg Popovich saying that, remind me to thank Tim Duncan. And Mike Brown's like, why are you going to thank your player? Like, what are you talking about? Well, I need to thank him for allowing me to coach him, was what he said. And I guess the way Mike Brown described it, think about it this way. It's like you have this star player in Tim Duncan, and early on in Greg Popovich's career, he's trying to tell Tim Duncan what to do. Many times, a superstar that doesn't want that to be the case says like, hey, I know better. He can get that coach fired, no problem. You see it happen all the time. Franchises always take the side of their star players. And Greg Popovich was allowed to coach him. And what did that do? It not only generated a great career for Greg Popovich, but it generated a dynasty, essentially, a basketball dynasty. And Mike Brown, I guess, had compared Fox to that, to Tim Duncan in that respect, because he's allowed him to coach him. And it was a perfect example. It was crazy because he said that before the Warriors game. And the next game, in a huge moment, he's talking to Fox. And I don't know, that might have come like right before the block that he had in the corner. I don't know, maybe mixing up the timing of everything. But it's just, I guess, Fox is just, he's eager to get better. He's eager to win. And there's just everything about it, from Brown to the players, Fox and specifically, there's just that you can finally feel like, and it's early, I know, and they haven't made the playoffs or whatever, but it's just like the big thing was the culture change, and it's obviously changed. It's obviously way better than it's ever been. And man, credit to both of them,
Yeah, dude. The culture change is, I mean, like you said, everyone bought into it, and that was, always that big question going into the season and the culture, and McNair made it an important topic in the offseason to build that culture and get people to buy in, and as Fox is your leader, on the court and looks like off the court now. Just letting your coach chew you out in front of everyone and just being like, okay, and then getting that block on Curry in the corner, that just shows a lot. He's taking it from off court to on court, and it's just awesome, really. Like, you don't see that in the past, and like you're saying, like they wanted to win those games for Mike Brown. At least the Warriors won. Like, I don't remember ever hearing the Kings going out against the Lakers or Warriors for Luke Walton trying to beat them. So it's just that it's like that different connection with the players, and just I don't know, that different
Mike
culture.
Brown has such trust in his players, and I wrote about it. You could see it in training camp because they came out of, I think, the first preseason game, and Mike Brown said, I think out of a practice, um, he said like, I'm really surprised with this team. Like I've been really surprised with how much they've kind of like taken on, the offense and the principles that he's preaching and whatnot, and executing so well in practice and doing what he wants. And he said that that's like, it's nice because this is a good group of guys. And he's not just talking them up, but he's legitimately saying that he has trust in them. And he might even said that explicitly, like, I have tremendous trust in them. And he was talking, he might have brought it up, the word trust specifically, when he was kind of talking about how important that is, which, having coached under Greg Popovich, having coached under Steve Kerr, he knew that those teams succeeded not because the coaches took control, but because the coaches did a lot of the work beforehand, uh, throughout, practices, throughout the early part of the season. Like, you see the Warriors look way better on Saturday or on Sunday because Steve Kerr is starting to make tough decisions about his rotation. And more James Wiseman, which frankly, if you watch the Warriors, it's like that guy's not good. That's a huge problem for them. But you make these decisions, and then you have to let the players execute. They have to be well coached, disciplined enough to be able to execute. At the end of the day, it's a players' league, and the smartest coaches know that, and the smartest coaches use that to their advantage. And so, Mike Brown has tremendous trust in this team. You can see it in the fact that he'll let Sabonis play when he gets in foul trouble. The fact that he's sticking with Keegan Murray, even though he's got off-court issues. I mean, he was talking about that, I think, on Saturday too, saying that like the whole organization is making sure that we're here to support him. I'm letting him know, like, just go out there and play. Like, you're not going to lose minutes. Like, don't worry about any of that stuff. He's just there's a connection that's running throughout the locker room, coaching staff to players. It's insane. For as much as Fox has done, I mean, Mike Brown is just obviously he's put the stake in the ground that started the building this kind of chain link fence of good culture. I don't know why it would be a chain link fence. That doesn't, but you know what I mean. Uh,
Yeah,
it's
I
kind of
love
it's
Mike Brown.
crazy.
Yeah, no, he just seems awesome. Like, it seemed like they made just an excellent decision hiring that dude, and it's looking like it's paying off so far. So he's just been awesome. I don't really have much more more to add than what you've been saying. He's been gassing him up, but he really has done a lot of work so far this season, and um,
Also, I mean,
building that culture. Hmm.
another thing about it, because you remember, like, one of the things that got not Fox, got Mike Brown in trouble in his first stint with Cleveland when LeBron was there, was that like he called out LeBron one time, I think in like a film session, and then like LeBron like talked to him. I may be mixing this up, but I think it was something to this effect. And then like Mike Brown stopped like calling him out, and just a bunch of players lost respect for him. And that's just kind of, maybe that underlines the importance of being able to coach your star. But it's like, And that probably just as much as watching Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr, that probably totally underlines the fact that you have to be the coach. You have to be the authority at the end of the day. Um, and quite frankly, like I said, to be able to have that trust late in the game, you have to instill them with that stuff, anyways. So it's good that the players know it, because the players understand what it takes to win. So it's crazy because it's just like we knew that the culture would be better with Mike Brown, but I don't know if I really expected it to be like this immediate. Of course, it would be different because it's a completely different coaching staff and whatnot, and it seemed like a completely different group of players. Um, but it's just like everything's gelling. And maybe we look back a month or two from now and shit goes sour. um, maybe something not necessarily in the long run, but just maybe it's not as rosy as it is now. But right now, it just seems like they're really on a good track, and they've made crazy progress that I just didn't expect in the culture department, which is really at the end of the day what you want.
Yeah, and they don't really have anyone or like any players on the team that are known as head cases. If anything, they got rid of Buddy, who was an issue off court. But I mean, other than that, they brought in, I don't know, like I don't know if they brought in good. I mean, they did bring in high quality guys. No one like you would expect, like, oh wow, that's a really high quality guy. But Herder's not a guy that you hear about, like off court or Monk or anyone like that. And you drafted really well, and Mitchell and Murray, who are young guys who are eager to learn and they're going to work really hard. So I'm not totally surprised, but it is nice to see it like come together so quickly.
Yeah,
But
I think
like McNair built that. Like he saw this, he like got the recipe, got the ingredients, and it's like turning out really well. So
yeah, and I think just to kind of kick it back to Mike Brown there, because all our credit to McNair. We said that at the beginning of the season, it's just like, this is it seems like a horse that can win a race, um, but Mike Brown made sure everybody knows their role, and we would probably see instances or signs of someone maybe not taking on their role because they probably wouldn't be here, because it's just you have to know your role. It seems like for Mike Brown's team to even be on the team, and it seems like everybody's kind of in line. Everybody understands their role, and that goes a long way. It really does.